Just 2 years ago, Tyler Herro had one of the greatest rookie playoff debuts in NBA history in the bubble. He averaged 16 points per game and scored in double digits in all 21 of his games played and scored the fourth most total points ever in a rookie's playoff run, just behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jason Tatum, and Alvin Adams. And he even scored the 11th most points in a playoff game by a rookie with his 37-point performance in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. But after breaking onto the scene in his first playoff run, Herro fell flat in his second postseason appearance, posting marks of 9.3 points per game on 31% shooting from the field and behind the arc, leading to him and the Heat landing on the wrong side of a 4-game sweep against the eventual NBA champion Bucks. Following the letdown playoff performance, Herro became an easy target for criticism, and the stagnation in his production led many to question whether Herro had simply hit a wall in his progression. But Herro has completely shut down that narrative. After the disappointment of his performance against Milwaukee, Herro went to work in the gym in the offseason and added a ton to his game. Statistically this season, he's upped his scoring from 15 points per game to 21, his field goal percentage from 44 to 47, and his three-point percentage from 36 to nearly 43%. But before we get into the specific areas where Herro has drastically improved this season, let's start with what Herro has already shown us he was great at. The most valuable asset in Herro's bag during the Heat's NBA final run was the skill set that he provided off ball. Herro shot 37.5% from deep and 45% off the catch throughout the entirety of the playoffs in his rookie season. And since then, Herro has continued to show his value as an off-ball scorer. But now his off-ball value isn't just limited to shooting. Sure, Herro is still an absolute flamethrower off the catch. He's hitting his catch-and-shoot attempts at a 50% clip this season, but he's also showcased his abilities as an intelligent cutter. Last season, Herro ranked in the 83rd percentile of cutters. He's just an intuitive and instinctive off-ball relocator and cutter. But honestly, that's kind of where Herro's scoring skill set started and stopped in his first 2 seasons. Herro had virtually no on-ball creation and was just so heavily dependent on other ball handlers creating shots for him. In his rookie season, 47% of his twos were assisted on and 78% of his threes were assisted on. And in his sophomore season, 46% of his twos were assisted on and 73% of his threes were assisted on. Now, Herro wasn't completely worthless as an on-ball creator. He was a decent off-the-dribble shooter, hitting his pull-up jumpers at a 35% clip his rookie season and a 44% clip in his second season. But that's really one of the biggest changes we've seen in his game and why he has developed into such a significantly more well-rounded scorer. He is so much better at creating shots for himself off of the dribble and so much less dependent on others creating opportunities for him to serve up some buckets. This season, just 20.8% of his twos were assisted on, a 25% drop from his sophomore campaign, and just 65.4% of his threes were assisted on. That's just an 8% drop from last year, but it's a significant mark for attempts behind the arc. And like I said, Herro has never been a downright horrendous shooter off the dribble, but he's never been efficient enough with his touches to really command and run the Heat offense. But that's been completely flipped on its head this season. He's hitting his fadeaway attempts at a 56% clip this season, his pull-up jumpers at a 47% clip, his stepbacks at a 54% clip, and his mid-range attempts as a whole at a rate of 52.5%. Now, Herro is a guy that you can hand the ball, give him a screen, and he just needs a sliver of space in the mid-range or in the lane, and he'll make you pay. He is one of the best off-the-dribble shooters in the game. And his improvement in difficult shot making and shooting off the dribble have been components in why we've seen such a scoring increase, but I think there's something even more significant to the major strides we've seen in his scoring arsenal. And it's just Herro's mentality when the ball is in his hands. He is so much more aggressive every time he touches the ball. He wants to attack downhill, and he wants to get his own open shot off. This season, he refuses to settle for contested catch-and-shoot jumpers. This year, 52.7% of his shots are coming from inside 16 feet. That's nearly a 10% increase from last season. And he's banging his attempts from 10 to 16 feet at over a 60% clip. The crazy efficiency in this range can also be attributed to a few other factors. First, Herro's development in one of my favorite shots in basketball, the floater, which he's hitting at a 50% clip this season. But secondly, the development in the craftiness of his handle and his conscious effort to drive to open space and drive on defenders' hips. And what I mean by that is, Herro doesn't always try to just use straight line drives when going to the hoop. Granted, if a defender opens the gate for him, he will drive to the rack, but he moreover uses his shiftiness and just tries to get to open space and to get defenders on his back hip. From then on, Herro is just trying to manipulate his defender around the court until he draws a double to kick to an open teammate, or to just drive past his man to get to an open layup, or to just open up enough space to get his floater off. And I briefly touched on his handle, but I have to mention it. His handle is so much more improved. He's better at going from high to low, his crossover is way filthier, and his improvement in change of pace is absolutely incredible. And all the massive growth in Tyler's scoring ability from virtually everywhere on the court has led him to becoming a pretty solid playmaker. He's only averaging 4 this season, but that's still an assist per game jump from last year, again because Herro is dangerous from basically every spot on the court and always looking for his own buckets. Defenders have to respect him and slide over to help when he beats his man, and have to stick on him off ball. But to just mention the playmaking opportunities that have been created off of the development of Herro's scoring skill set would be neglecting the playmaking development we have seen from Herro this season. He's a much more willing passer than ever, and he's always looking to hit Dedmon or Adebayo off of the roll when they set screens for him. He's also a really willing lob passer, and while he can be errant on a few of his lob passes, it's just nice that Herro is looking to spread the ball around when he's in charge of the Heat offense. And you can just tell when watching Herro play. He's got a better feel for the game than ever, and he's got so much more confidence in his abilities as a court general and engine of this Heat offense. Now finally, a pretty minute detail in Herro's scoring and playmaking arsenal that I feel is still worth mentioning is his transition game, in which he ranks in the 67th percentile in the NBA this season. Again, it's a pretty small aspect of his game, but Herro loves pushing the pace in transition and has great vision to launch the ball up court or spotting trailing shooters for easy buckets. Now, I do think I've noticed one flaw in Herro's game this season, and that's that he has a tendency to overestimate his explosiveness to the rack and get a little over-aggressive, which ends in longer defenders being able to block his shots from behind, despite Herro beating them off the dribble. But regardless of this one very small issue I have with Herro, it does play a part into why we've seen such a major improvement in the entirety of his game in such a short time span. His unparalleled confidence.
I feel like, I'm in the, same conversation as those guys, the young guys coming up in the league who can be, all-stars, superstars one day. Luka, Trey, Ja, those guys like that. I feel like my name should be in that category too.
While I don't necessarily agree with that statement right at this moment, if the walking bucket Tyler Herro can improve this much in one offseason, who am I to say that he can't one day become an offensive engine the caliber of those guys? He's still as dangerous of a scorer off ball. He's one of the best movement and contested shooters off the dribble in the NBA. He has a brand new developed floater, mid-range game, and handle. And there's just a different kind of unpredictability in his game that has to terrify defenders now that he's a scoring threat from everywhere on the floor and wants to attack closeouts and downhill. Herro was absolutely imperative in Miami's deep playoff run in the NBA bubble, but with his drastically improved scoring skill set, improved playmaking and handle, he will play an even bigger role in another deep Heat playoff run this season. If you have made it this far in the video, I thank you so much for watching, and I implore you to subscribe and to stick around for a little bit for some of the other video breakdowns we do here. Carvel just did a video on his best players on the planet on the channel, and Carson just did a video on the biggest problem with the Celtics this season. If you're interested in even more basketball content, we do a podcast 3 times a week, 2 that we stream right here on YouTube, and an additional football podcast that we do every Friday that you can find on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at nerd_sesh, on Instagram at nerdsesh, and on TikTok at nerdsesh. And you can actually find all of NerdSesh's content on our official website, nerdsesh.com. And with that, I again thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you soon.